into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
How's it going, everyone? It's a big day today for those that don the blue and red. It's BYU-Utah game day. And to celebrate, we'll be talking about some of the biggest rivalries in history. And I'm not just talking about sports. After that, a house divided. Former Ute Colt Sampson and his brother, former Cougar Nate Sampson, joined me to talk about what it's like to be siblings on both sides of the rivalry. But first, let's bring on the man who I'm pretty sure doesn't own one piece of red clothing, Jason Shepard. Am I right?
No, I do own some pieces of clothing that have red on it because
maybe some. I could see like fan. For the 4th of July.
Well, but I'm a Chiefs fan and a St. Louis Cardinals fan, so their colors are obviously red. But for the Chiefs, I try and find stuff that's like the shirt is gray with the logo instead of a red shirt. And I have a Mahomes jersey, but it's the white jersey, so it limits the red.
I got
Luckily for the St. Louis Cardinals, they also use a little navy blue, so they have a lot of blue clothing. So it works out.
I like that it's luckily for the Cardinals.
But if you walk into my closet, you will see all royal, navy, and then like 1, 2, or 3 spots of a red shirt, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I am a little surprised you have any at all.
Well, if I weren't a Chiefs or a Cardinals fan, then it wouldn't be in there. There wouldn't be a speck of it.
I bet. All right, Shep, it's been an exciting couple weeks in sports, having college football back, joining a new conference if you're a BYU fan, and the prospects that come with that. But one of the most exciting weeks in college football is Rivalry Week. And it doesn't matter if it's Army-Navy, Auburn-Alabama, Michigan-Ohio State, Oklahoma-Texas, USC-Notre Dame, or the Holy War with BYU-Utah. And there are a ton more storied rivalries across the country. Shep, besides the BYU-Utah rivalry game, what would you say is your favorite rivalry in college football that you actually get excited to watch?
You actually mentioned one of them, and it's Texas-Oklahoma. And no, I'm not just saying that because of all the Big 12 stuff, even though those two schools are going to leave. I have always enjoyed the Texas-Oklahoma rivalry. I think that's always a good game to watch. The other one, certainly much more regionally relevant, is I've always enjoyed USC-UCLA. I think those have been fun ones to watch. If I'm talking about college football, those are kind of the two that really stand out to me.
I like the Auburn-Alabama because Auburn rarely gets the win,
right.
But it's always fun to watch because you're like, is it going to be this year? Because when they do, it's absolutely epic when they win, and it's proof that it can be very one-sided and there still be a rivalry.
That is a good thought to have in the back of your mind heading into the game tonight.
All right, Shep, there's always something good about a rivalry. Most of these rivalries go back like 100 years or more. It's the game that proves who's the best in your land or your territory. And it almost doesn't matter what happens the rest of the season because everything goes out the window when it comes to the rivalry game because there are so many emotions involved. And here's a hot take for you. We talked about this a little bit before. I think rivalries mean more to fans than they do to the actual players. Because you think about it, a lot of these schools bring in local kids, and that's what makes it still kind of a heated rivalry within the schools. But I think now more than ever, kids are coming from out of state and different places coming to the school. So they're like, why is this a big deal? And
right.
I'm sure they quickly learn and are indoctrinated by the school and the culture. But I think it means way more to the fans than does the actual players. What do you think?
I agree with you, and I have a theory about this, and I think it boils down to the fact that as fans of any sport, but certainly when it comes to rivalries where you have that heightened enthusiasm and whatnot, I think that it means more because we're removed from it. We have no bearing on the outcome. At least if you're the players, you're in the middle of it and you're thinking about the next play. And so your mind is preoccupied. You know it's a big game, but then, win or lose, most times, now it didn't used to be this way when the BYU-Utah game was at the end of the year, but usually you have a next week you're playing a new team, and so it's on to the next one. For fans, you kind of sit and stew about it. And as it pertains to BYU-Utah specifically, the close proximity heightens that worriness if you lose, because then you have to deal with seeing Ute fans out and about because you live around them. A lot of times, in the same family where you have BYU and Utah fans that, are in part of the same family. So I think the fact that we're removed from it and have no way of controlling the outcome, we get more into it, if that makes any sense.
It does. It makes absolute sense. I'm a BYU fan, grew up a BYU fan. For me, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, if it's, football season or whenever, if I see someone walking around in a Utah shirt, something inside me happens. It's the weirdest thing.
I gave a
they
guy...
could be the greatest person on the planet. It's not like I hate the person, but I'm kind of like, you walk past them like, I don't know about you, a little sketchy, it's the weirdest thing. I guarantee a player walks past someone and they don't think twice about it. It's just us fans. We are so dedicated to our team.
I don't know if I should admit this, but I'm going to on radio, which I don't know why I do this to myself. So on my way home from the gym, I take the same route to and from, and it takes me through a neighborhood. And there is this one house in the heart of Orem that they're Ute fans, and they have a Ute flag in their yard. And so I always get a little perturbed as I drive by. So the last couple of days, I have caught myself driving by, rolling the window down, and just putting my thumbs down outside the window as I drive by, just in case they were watching. Now, nobody's ever been outside.
Shep, what if they recognize you? What if they're looking through their window and they're like, that's the guy on BYU TV?
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. Ute fans pay some more attention to BYU than they do their own team anyway, so I get it.
You do the thumbs down. That's good
and
stuff.
My kids, if they see a Ute logo, especially my 8-year-old Audrey, she'll like, boo Utes.
My gosh. That's the thing. We teach our children these things. It goes for generations and generations. Yes. One little symbol can make your blood boil. And the wrong color can make you do a thumbs down, to the house. I love that shit. That's a great story. All right. On a positive note, what's one of your favorite things about Rivalry Week?
I think it's just how intense it is. And going into these games, in terms of covering them from the sports angle, we always talk about how close the games are. And yes, there are certain outliers where, the 54-10 where Utah came down here and, just worked the Cougars. More times than not, they are close games. And that's another reason to be excited about it. It's also another reason to panic because you never feel comfortable because they're usually close. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one of the reasons is it really is, and it's cliche to say you throw out the records, but the final score typically is very, very close, and it's not a surprise that they're usually within a touchdown.
Yeah. No, it always is a great game. I think one of my favorite things to watch, and this is going to sound so strange, but I feel like I bet this is applicable to any rivalry across the country. Everything we're talking about here can really be any rivalry because that's just how you feel towards each other. But there are those people you look on social media that they're trying to make it all flowers and bubbly and like we're coming together to support this, which I actually love that people do that. I really do think it's a great thing, and people's emotions are high, and so they're more willing to donate and, during that week. So I love that people do that, but it also kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, I know deep down you really don't want to be collaborating. If you are a true fan, this is kind of hurting you to do this.
Yeah, well, and I think I think we've seen more and more of that in recent years between these two schools, between BYU and Utah, and I think a perfect example of trying to come together and making it a little bit more civil and realizing that we all really are in this together is what BYU is doing with the Ty Jordan flag. Mm-hmm. And, obviously the Ute running back that passed away. And so, BYU is going to have a flag. And I think those kinds of things, and we talk about the fans and how crazy things. Those are the types of things maybe the fans don't pay a ton of attention to, but I promise you that the two programs do.
Absolutely.
The programs, BYU and Utah, that will mean a lot specifically to the University of Utah and people involved in that program. Stuff like that goes a long way.
Absolutely. And I really do think that's absolutely incredible. Shep, rivalries come in many forms. There are rivals between schools and sports, and sometimes there are rivals between individuals in everyday life. It's time to explore 5 of my favorite rivals throughout history and pop culture.
Okay.
All right. Number 5 for me, LA Lakers versus the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And this was a little bit before
This is the
our
80s.
time.
Yeah, the 80s,
But you
big time.
you watch these documentaries and it gets you fired up. I think it was such a fun rivalry because they met 12 times in the NBA Finals. That's crazy. You think of Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird. Everybody knows that.
There's a reason why ESPN could do a 3-part documentary on that series alone.
Exactly. That's probably I'm sure people could argue this, but that could be the best rivalry,
It's a great one.
at least in the NBA.
It's a great one, yeah.
Of all time. All right, number 4 for me, Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding.
Why?
Because
Why?
that's a
Yeah.
great rival.
It
Come
is.
on. They're
It
like,
is.
you have like this
Very
kind of
sinister rivalry.
I know it was a little strange to bring up, but you just think you have the one that's kind of edgy. You know, you have Tanya Harding. She kind of has this little edginess, and then the girl next door, Nancy Kerrigan. So it
Yes.
just makes it even more. I don't know. It just makes it more fun to watch. And it was the 1994 Olympics,
We're still talking about it.
and people are still talking
Yes.
about it. That
Jeff-
rivalry. Everyone, your
Jeff
8-year-old
Gillooly?
probably has heard those names before.
Yeah.
Wait, who's Jeff Gillooly?
That was Tanya Harding's boyfriend, Jeff Gillooly.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
he's the one that actually hit Nancy Kerrigan in
That's
the knee.
right. It was her ex-husband.
Ex-husband, yes.
Yep. Woo. See, that's a rivalry. Let's
Yeah.
not have any of that, guys.
No, please no.
Number 3, Batman versus Superman, and I know this really hits home for you.
I'm a
Shep,
Superman guy.
because you love Marvel. You love
I do.
superheroes.
Yeah, Superman is my favorite superhero of all. I may go Superman versus Lex Luthor more than I go Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
But I like where you're going. I like throwing in the superhero in the comic book. I like it. I appreciate it.
Well, because rivals are almost on equal playing fields, you know, like they're kind of competing for the same thing, and I feel like that's what Batman and Superman are
Okay.
doing. Who is the best?
Well, they made a
superhero?
movie called Batman v Superman.
They
So
did.
yes,
and Superman has actual superpowers, so we'll go.
that
with
is
him.
true. He's the last son of Krypton.
Oh my gosh. Number 2, Pepsi versus Coke. Ooh. Ooh. What do you choose here? You're very healthy. You probably don't drink soda.
No,
but-
I unfortunately have begun drinking more soda than I should. It's all the zero stuff, though.
I know. It'll get you.
Yes. Look, we are a Coke school here at Brigham Young University, so I'm going to say Coke.
Oh, come on, Shep. Well, listen, just because you said that, I'm going to say Pepsi. No, but I was thinking about it, and I love me a good Diet Coke, but I probably do like more Pepsi products. I'm a big Mountain Dew girl.
Love Mountain Dew.
See? That's what I'm
Love
saying.
it.
That's what I'm saying. Mountain
Okay.
Dew. Anyway, so I'm probably gonna go with Pepsi because I could take either. Honestly, I'm no respecter of soda. Just give me.
I
whatever you
will
got.
tell you though, of all, because we are a Coke school, that's that's readily available here,
Right.
like in the building and on campus. Obviously, I have really begun to enjoy the Cherry Coke Zero.
Yes.
In fact, talking about it right now, I may, as soon as I'm off the mic, go get one.
For me, Diet Coke with a squirt of Cherry Coke. That's what I ask for when I go through the drive-thru. Every day.
A Diet Coke with a squirt of Cherry Coke?
Cherry Coke. Not a squirt of cherry like
Okay, not the
syrup.
flavoring.
Gross. No.
Okay.
Squirt of Cherry Coke because then it's not overpowering. It just has this great little mixture of flavors.
Okay.
So anyone out there, go ahead and give it a try.
We call that the Lauren.
we do call it that. I go to too many restaurants where they have a lot of things named after me. Okay, you're gonna appreciate this one. Number 1, biggest rivalry, Rocky versus Drago.
I love it.
But I was thinking about it, and really, that was just kind of a one-time matchup. So can you call them rivals? I don't know.
I think you can.
Can you?
I think you can, because you got to remember, it wasn't just Rocky versus Drago. It was the United States versus Russia.
That's a great
Like it
point.
encompassed the two countries, and
It was
at the
democracy
at
versus
the height of the
communism.
Cold War, nonetheless. Rocky himself, Gorbachev stood,
And clap
or the
for him.
actor playing Gorbachev in the movie, stood and applauded what Rocky said.
And you can't beat that.
You can't beat that. The man literally brought two countries who hated each other together in the boxing ring.
Because if I can change, and you can change,
We all can change.
everybody can change.
Love it.
Oh my goodness, such a good movie.
It's
no
my favorite
debate.
of the Rocky movies, by the way.
Ben Bagley was trying to tell me a couple weeks ago that Rocky 3 is the best.
No, it's second best. I
Yes.
go in reverse order because, and I stop at Rocky 4.
Okay.
I don't worry about 5. I don't worry about the newer ones. In my opinion, the best is Rocky 4. Next is 3 with Clubber Lang, a.k.a. Mr. T. Pity the Fool. Number 3 is number 2, That makes sense. And the number 4 is the first.
Okay.
That's how I go. I go in reverse order.
I can get behind that. I think I agree with that. Ben Bagley, you're going to have a separate conversation with him because
don't listen to Ben.
Yeah, I apparently couldn't have any effect on that. All right, Shep, thank you very, very much. You were incredible as always. Up next, the Sampson brothers, former Utes and Cougars, are here to tell us how deep the BYU rivalry really goes, even amongst family. Don't go anywhere. This is Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to the Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McClain. It's the age-old saying, family before everything. But is that true when your family is part of your biggest rival? To help us verify or not the statement's validity, let's welcome on Colt Sampson, who played football for the University of Utah from 2004 to 2008, and Nate Sampson, who played for BYU from 2015 to 2018. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Hey, thank you, Lauren. Great to be here.
Were those the right
We're a
years,
big fan.
Nate?
Oh, yeah. Hey, you got to love it. So Lauren's awesome here. We're super excited to be here with her. Brings a lot of good energy. So
Hey, I may have some personal ties to these guys. Colt Sampson is, in fact, my brother-in-law, so we've had some good conversations
Oh, it's
about
been great.
BYU Utah.
And it's humbling to have a sister-in-law that knows more about the game than you do, and you played. So
She's like, "Can
I
you
always
blitz?"
say Lauren
Whatever.
is going to come back as a BYU linebacker in another life. Give her that shot.
We can only hope.
there was nothing like running out the tunnel and seeing Lauren there ready, to get the action shots. It was awesome.
Those are the good old days. All right, guys, tell me a little bit about your family. Of course, I know this, but tell the audience where you guys grew up. Let's start with Colt and just a little bit about your family.
Yeah, definitely. So mainly grew up in Pleasant Grove, Utah. 5 boys and 3 girls in our family for siblings. And there's quite an age gap between Nate and I. So Nate's the baby of the family, and I was the third child. And so with that gap, there's about 10 years between us. And so growing up, my dad was a high school football coach. So it was all things football. And high school football was the big deal. Our rival was American Fork, And as we kind of got noticed on the college level, we started noticing, oh, wow, it is a big deal. Utah, BYU, rivalry. So, and I know Nate got introduced when I was playing at Utah. Nate was going through his junior high years in high school. So it was a big deal.
And these guys have a sibling in between them that also played football for BYU. So it even goes beyond the two of you when it comes to the rivalry.
Yes.
2 against 1, Colt.
Yes. You know what? It wasn't always that way because I have so many pictures of them wearing Utah stuff, yelling all these horrible things at BYU fans. And no. So.
No, it probably is true. I actually believe it. Nate, what was it like for you when your older brother, 10 years ahead of you, signed with the University of Utah? That had to have been cool.
Oh, it was so exciting. And of course, looking at my older brothers, they're my heroes and icons. I just look up to them so much. And so it was more than fun traveling to all the games, seeing them experience. Colt sometimes bringing me in the locker room after games. And, of course, I was that kid asking for gloves and wristbands just to have any type of swag back in the day. I needed all the help I could get, but it was awesome.
And I tried hard to convert them. I was shocked. When they ended up going to BYU. I mean, we paved the way. I mean, 2 undefeated seasons, great coaches under, Meyer and Witt. So, but they're leaving their own legacy. So,
yeah, so what was that like for you, Colt? You were indoctrinated into the Utes and the University of Utah, everything red, and then your 2 little brothers sign with BYU. What was the first thing that went through your mind? Let's start with Brian because he's the one directly below you. What was that like?
My dad always said, dance with the one you're with. And BYU was offering him a scholarship, and Utah hadn't offered yet, and that I think that was a big factor.
What was that like for you, Nate, when Brian signed for BYU? Were you like, oh my gosh, that's going to be weird? Or was it just a totally normal thing?
Actually, it was just awesome to see all the recruiting coaches, coming in the home. And I thought it was amazing. Coach Brandon Doman was the one that was really pushing for Brian, and they built a great connection. And so, relationships are a huge factor, and I think they saw Brian's talent early. I was in 9th grade when that was happening, and so exciting. So it was just fun to look at, to be a part of. And he made that decision, which ended, I wanted to be there, play with him, hang out together, share the locker room together, maybe hit the showers after practice. It was a great time and an experience.
I love that. And the rivalry is handled differently in different schools, whether it's like Auburn, Alabama, and there's just so many storied rivalries, Oklahoma and Texas. BYU Utah is called the Holy War for a reason. So, Cole, let's start with you. When you played for Urban Meyer and Kyle Whittingham, when it was rivalry week, what was the locker room like for you?
So it was a big deal. It was back when you didn't know who was going to win. I mean, games were 3 points, 5 points, overtime, and a lot of back and forth. So growing up, I remember watching the Ron McBride and the Lavelle Edwards commercials where they're posting the score on each other's back, and it was a little lighter. It was not like that, Coach Meyer. So. Anyway, he did take it to the next level. I mean, in the locker room, I'm not going to say what was placed in each urinal in the locker room and like what, but we did have a clock in the weight room that said beat the team down south. And that was Coach Meyer's thing. Like, you did not say BYU. It was like, and I think I went 2 or 3 years without hearing like anybody say BYU in that facility. So
that's incredible.
Hey, he heard it at the house, that's for sure.
Nate, well, I think you probably had a slightly different experience, I think, from your end playing for Bronco Mendenhall and then Kalani Sitake, who he kind of prides himself in saying very kind things about the rivalry, at least to fans. And so what was it like for you in the locker room praying for those two coaches?
Oh, awesome. There's nothing better to get into more attention about rivalry week. It was so fun, so exciting, and just the run out in the stadium, the pre-locker room. I remember one of our first games was at Utah that we were at, and we had a couple of apostles come in the pre-game locker room. They're walking around. It's just a lot more hype, and it was really exciting on both ends. Of course, with Kalani, more ties to BYU. Even coaching there when Colt was there, it was fun to welcome him back, to the fold over here at BYU, and yeah, it was so much fun. It was exciting, but it's all business during the week. Yeah. Everyone knows, they talk about it, but it becomes all business like it should.
And Colt actually knew Kalani because he played under him as well. But something earlier in the show I said was, and tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like sometimes the rivalry means more to fans than it does to the actual players. Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I think in different ways. Okay. I think it has a different significance in different ways. Like when it comes to a football player and being a player, you're proving that, hey, you guys missed out on an opportunity. I could have been playing for you guys, but I'm here. Yeah. And we're going to make you pay for it.
Right. Okay.
So as a player, but also you have this deep, deep respect for the other players. So I played, against Jan Jorgensen, but off the field, just great guy, relationship that we have, and many other players.
Janimal.
Yeah. Many other players like that where on the field, you're going to try and run each other over and, play a hard game. And, after you have that deep respect for each other. I think on the fan side where you don't have to put up, you can say whatever you want and you don't have to put up anything. It's a little bit different story where you can kind of hide out a little bit more.
Right. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I totally agree. I love what Colt's saying. And matter of fact, I saw Colt last week, at the creamery getting a double scoop of ice cream, so I know Colt has a little soft heart.
That gives me so much gas. I would never eat that. All right. I mean, that pistachio over there, it doesn't make my mouth water at all.
He keeps showing back up, though, and there's just something about, respecting the players, especially at that much commitment over the summer, that much work. But it is fun to have some good energy around town, being 40 miles away up at Utah. It's just fun to have them back here and playing at BYU with the new renovations I saw driving by the stadium. So we're excited to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game tonight. All right, guys, I want to know, now that you're not players anymore and you've kind of been able to step away, you're both dads, you're married, and kind of moved on with life, how has the rivalry changed for you? Let's start with Colt.
there's a kid in us all, Lauren, and we never grow up.
Amen.
All right, we love a good game. We love a great competition.
Awesome challenges.
And you know what? Yeah, we have other responsibilities that take up a lot of our time. But I can tell you, when that game week comes, you get that feeling again. You get that itch, and you got to channel it into something. And some things never change.
Absolutely.
So.
What do you think, Nate?
Oh, yeah. It definitely is so exciting. I just love to talk about it, the past stories with other players whenever I see them. They just know that it's rivalry week, and you can just definitely feel it in the air around campus. I've seen a lot more blue this week and just noticing it, and so it's just exciting to feel that energy, and can't wait for game day.
All right, really quick, you guys. 5 brothers, 3 sisters who are all very athletic. What is the sibling rivalry like for you guys now that you're all older? I know it's still there. I know it's still hot. What's it like now?
Calissa's a Ute for life. She's my oldest sister. She said that was the best 5 years of her life. Best 5 years ever. Clint played at Utah State, so he's just off the grid. I mean, they corrupt them so bad.
Now.
Yeah, there's no twist. You got me. I think Weston, I think he would fall more on Utah's side. He had a lot of fun. Then you got my 2 sisters. I don't know between those two. Yeah. They're both pretty feisty, and then you got Nate and Brian. So
Nate and Brian might be standing
Hey,
alone.
don't forget my mom.
Oh,
Ask my mom, huh?
She's a turncoat. She was BYU before. She went over to Utah a little, while I was there. But when she went back when you guys went, that was the greatest thing you could have done for us. So I thought I was the favorite,
Yeah, not quite, Colt. All right, Colt Sampson played for the University of Utah from 2004 to 2008, and Nate Sampson, who played for the Cougars from 2015 to 2018. Thank you guys so much for coming on with me, and good luck to your respective teams tonight.
All right. Utes by 3. Thanks, Lauren.
Hey, thanks, Lauren.
And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Colt and Nate Sampson and Jason Shepard for coming on the show with me. You can join the Cougar Tailgate virtually, of course, every Saturday at noon Mountain Time, or download, rate, and review our podcast on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYUradio.org. It's game day, baby. This is Cougar Tailgate.